right, so here is the landing page. As I was mentioning, our Kit Carson Trail is right under things to do here. We have, to start off, we had some amazing imagery done by Jeff Dow last year that is along the Kit Carson Trail. So we only got a couple houses in the last shoot, but he's here to also gather a ton of assets for us around Carson City. But he's actually coming next week, and we're getting more houses on the trail photographed. So this header image here is just one of them, and that you see through the presentation. But once they get here, they scroll down, and you're able to actually download the Kit Carson Trail map that you have in front of you. It takes you to this page, which shows you the route. And then this is actually from carried over and proofread and tailored up a little bit to be more relevant for our bank saloon that's being added. It's formerly Jack's Bar. So we made a small edits, but the descriptions and the history that were on there are still the same. And then we actually do have a virtual Kit Carson Trail, if you did not know, but we only have 8 stops featured, and we're gathering more. But if you come here, this can actually be viewed through virtual reality goggles. So I think it's a great experience for young children as well. And that can be done through the Google Expedition app. But you have a whole 360 view of the area around you. And then if you click on these, it comes up with more information and other photos that can be brought up. So I think that's a fun addition, especially through the COVID times. We've had a lot of people exploring that option. And then the 47 stops are below it, along with photographs that we've just updated and more detailed descriptions of the home that I believe were gathered from the Historical Society quite a few years ago, and that had been transferred over from our old site before we did this refresh. So that's more of the experience on just the website front. Bear with me as I get us back to our slide here. All right. And so these are just screenshots of everything that you've just seen. So we have the downloadable map, the virtual tour, and then the photos of the 47 stops. And the brochure, as you've seen, it actually has a little bit different route so that we could really incorporate the 47 routes best in the most linear fashion. Because we were getting a lot of feedback from our visitors that we took very seriously and to heart, and so we revamped the trail a little bit differently than what the blue line was. And we feel like this is more encompassing, and it's actually easier to drive because all you have to do is just go in reverse, and it takes care of all the one-ways that we run into with the vehicles. And we are digitally advertising the Kit Carson Trail too, as it is an asset to Carson City that we feel like our history buffs really love to do. And one of the major things that are requested in the visitor center is the brochure for the Kit Carson Trail. So you can actually see here. So our Instagram ad is actually a video, and so is the Facebook, which is on the left. And so you actually get a little bit of a taste of what it's like to walk down Robinson Street there. And we also have an ability to use Pinterest, which is a big travel. People get a lot of travel inspiration from Pinterest, so we're directing them through paid advertising to the landing page of the Kit Carson Trail, and we can target people who are interested in history specifically. And then we also will be following people around the internet who are searching for things to do specifically in Carson City on Google, and we'll be able to take these ads in a different format and target them as they're on other pages on the internet. So they'll see that Kit Carson Trail is actually a thing to do in Carson City instead of just the general sense. Are there any questions on the marketing front that I can answer for you guys?
Question on the flyer.
Mm-hmm.
The old one had, where you have number 22, St. Peter's Church at 314 North Division.
Okay.
There used to be the rectory at 302 North Division as well. That was on that. So
Okay.
a few years ago, I split, they were split up, and so that one kind of disappeared.
Okay.
And I'll get you that information.
That would be great. I think we can easily add that back on. There's been a few different versions of this, so we appreciate any feedback that you can give us on this. And one of the stops that wasn't on there that we added was your Foreman Roberts house as well for the Historical Society. So that's now stop number 47 because it is a little bit farther off the trail. So we've incorporated that as kind of the ending point as people are heading out of town. Any other questions?
Any other questions? looks great.
All right. Well, I will hand it back over to Dave, but thank you for your time.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Lydia, for that. So before I have Bill come up first and then Terry from Prison Industries, I want to talk just a little bit about the marker itself. So what you see in front of you here is sort of half the size of what the marker is going to look like, only because that's all I could really carry in, quite frankly, on the two-wheeler. So we plan, as Hope said, to put the marker in those green belt, those planter strips, keeping in with the historical value of the carriage stones or the mounting stones. So I'm going to turn it over to Bill, who's going to give a little bit of an update, if that's okay with Prison Industries in terms of our relationship. And I think Terry is going to kind of talk through the specifics of the marker itself, which is really probably what you're most interested in. So, all right. Here we go.
Good evening. My name is Bill Quang. I'm Deputy Director, Department of Corrections with Industrial Programs. It's an honor to be here tonight. Thanks for having me. Basically just going to give a brief of what Prison Industry is about, then turn it over to Terry since she's managing this project. I myself am a native Nevada, been here since 1977, Carson High grad, so I'm proud to be here. Came back after serving in the military in the United States Marine Corps. So thank you for having me tonight. As a Deputy Director for Department of Corrections, everybody knows we're doing our reentry program. We have these felons that are in there. So with this program, what we're doing is we're glad to partner with the community and with with David's crew to be part of the team. By doing this project, these inmates are learning skills in there. We're trying to get them as many certifications and marketable skills upon release. As we well know that recidivism is pretty high, so we're working drastically and hard into getting these inmates out there back to the street. They're going to live within a mile of us, so we're trying to have them change their behavior, change their thoughts, and become a productive citizen within our community. And I want to see that in Carson City. Prison industry has been around for a long time. We're statewide. We do from garment, we have garment factory, restoration, upholstery. We have print shop, embroidery shop, silk screening and all that. So we have a lot of capabilities. And our mission is not to harm the private sector. Our mission is to work with the private sector. A lot of companies come to us and help them. As we well know in Nevada, there's a lack of skilled workforce. So when these companies come to us, we work with them, they work on their products, we partner, then upon release, they come out and they work for them. So it's a great experience for them, and it's an accomplishment. Prison Industries is partnering with a lot of companies right here in the state of Nevada. So we're proud to do that. We're proud to be here with David and work with his team. So if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Hey, I'm just wondering, Bill, if you guys, we've talked a lot about adding something to the street signs in the district so that people know when they're in the district.
Okay, thanks.
And I see you guys, did the placard there. Could you make some just a little addition to the street signs for us if we could find some funding for that?
We definitely could. We can do a lot. We can do a lot of things, but not everything. But certainly if you have something mocked up or something, we have a graphics department also where the inmates are learning graphics. Terry Vance, who is our marketing coordinator, then we have prison industry supervisors throughout the state that manage each shop. So anything that you can dream of or think of, you send it a sketch or even on a napkin or something, we will take that in and CAD it up. We have an AutoCAD program in the graphics. We bring it up. We have a steel shop. We have a steel fabrication. So we do a lot of stuff. We have a plasma cutter. Our welders are AWS certified. And we partner up with Western Nevada College a lot. I've been partnering with them for probably 12 years or more. And I've been with the department for 26 years with the Department of Corrections. But anything that you can imagine, we can certainly try to work it up, or we'll partner with another company within the community, and we like to keep everything in Nevada. And one of the things is that the funding that we partner up with any company here, when they come to us, you guys come to us, the money stays in Nevada. I do not like seeing these funds going across the waters. We want to keep, as former Governor Sandoval, which I work with, he was very adamant about that, about keeping the money in Nevada and using the vendors that are here in Nevada so we keep our money, because I'm a Nevadan too. So I'm proud of my state and I like to see our community grow.
Sounds like a great program. Thanks for being here to tell us
Thank
about
you. And I encourage, if you guys want to do a tour, I'll leave my business cards. I'd be happy to bring you guys and see the tour. The facility right here in Carson City at Northern Nevada Correctional Center. You can see what these inmates do in there. Not only do they work there, but they earn a wage. We take 24.5% of their wages. That goes back to room and board, which helps offset the cost of incarceration. So it saves us taxpayers, or all taxpayers. 5% goes to Victims Crimes Fund, and 5% goes to the Capital Improvement Fund for Prison Industries. So the money comes right back around, it stays here. So I'm very proud of it. I'd be happy to host you guys and bring you in for a tour. I don't know if I can provide you lunch. I don't think you'll like the lunch, but I'd be happy to bring you in for a tour and see our shops and what our capabilities are. Our print shop, we have Ms. McManus doing that shop. We have been putting some money into equipment because I can't use the same screwdriver from 20 years to teach these guys skills and do quality products and generate revenue, because we are self-funded. We get no taxpayer dollar. Prison Industries is solely funded by itself, so what we make is what we earn and all that, we pay our salaries. So we don't take any general fund dollars.
Bill, with this project, obviously redevelopment's paying for it, and it's for the houses that are on the blue line and that I've written up and everything. Would it be possible for private homeowners to be able to purchase one of those for their own home if it's in the historic district?
Yes, we could. These rocks that we get, the quarry, it's coming out of Nevada State Prison. They have a rock quarry back there, and then we have some at our ranch. So we're open to the public. So a lot of prison industry programs that you see throughout the states, a lot of them are not allowed to sell to the private sector. We're one of maybe 3 or 5 states that are allowed to, because like we sell mattresses to a lot of our state employees. But the private sector can come to us, a private individual come to us, and we do it all the time. We help them with what they need.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other questions of Bill?
With the chair's
you.
permission, I'll turn it over to Terry.
I have a question for
Go ahead, Michelle.
Mike. Bill had mentioned that the marker, the one in front is half the size of the one that is being proposed. Do we have AutoCAD drawing of the one that's being proposed?
We can get an AutoCAD drawing for that to present to the committee or the board, if you would like to.
The height, yeah, the height and the width.
No, they switched everything over to this one, not the scale. They switched it over to the, yeah.
This is Hope, the planning manager, Hope Sullivan. Right now, that we do not have an AutoCAD drawing available for the commission at this time. And we also do not have in the PowerPoint a mock-up that would show the final size of it. What I have conditioned, as I recall, I stepped away from my seat, is that the final location, I kind of gave a performance standard looking at the carriage stone or the mounting stone. So I think if we focus on that standard, if the commission agrees with that, that's going to help direct what the end product looks like for the for prison industries to work towards and for, culture and tourism to work towards. And the way I wrote that is it would be subject to final approval by the chair. So I think probably what's helpful is, since we don't have 100% final product, we have a mock-up that kind of shows the thought process and the intent. And then I've given my recommendation is for you all to listen to the complete presentation and then provide more detailed guidance on what the final product should look like, if that would work.
And this is Bill Coingas. So just the mock-up, once we get final approval of everybody's input, come back, we'd be happy to do the first final piece for approval. Then that way we can go and see, is there anything else that we need to tweak from there? So we don't want to do like 47 and all that, but with what we do, we like to do prototypes and then bring the actual piece. So we mimic the first one prototype, and then we'll do a real actual one, bring it in, and then do approval so that everybody is in agreement.
The size is represented in here is 2 feet by 1 foot by 8 inches, so.
By about another foot.
2 by 1 by 1 is about what they are.
So, sorry.
I'll turn it over to Terry
So
now.
the size we have, this is Dave Peterson for the record, it's going to wind up about 2 feet by 1 feet by a foot. We do have a chunk over at the visitor center, but I didn't want to confuse with the two different designs and everything by bringing that one over here as well. So with Hope's permission, I think what we'll do is we'll spec what we would do on the full-size piece of sandstone, and then we'll email all kinds of images of that to Hope to share with the chair and the commission members if that will work.
Yeah, for the record, Terry Vance, Marketing Coordinator for Silver State Industries. And so just a real quick overview, probably most of you know this, but the territorial legislature purchased the land that the Nevada State Prison is on now, along with the rock quarry in 1864. So that's the same sandstone that built the Capitol, the courthouse. There's Jack's Bar, a lot of buildings in historic buildings in Carson City with that sandstone, and that's the same sandstone we're using. So when it comes to that stone, yeah, the ones that we have, when we say approximately 2 by 1 by 1, because they're all natural stone, and we're not, unless you want us to, cutting them to that specific size. And so another reason we didn't quite have the mock-up is we wanted some feedback in this from the stakeholders here. As you see, the one that we have here is a really rough stone. The ones that we'll use are a little more block shaped. And and it really comes down to aesthetic preference, that we can use the real flat face for the face of the marker, or we can use the more rough stone face, whichever one you guys would prefer. So that nameplate's gonna be bigger. The medallions, they came from the sidewalk, and we've polished them, so they all have kind of come out to a different color. And so there was some talk earlier if we should powder coat them to match the nameplate, but I think ultimately we decided against that, leaving them in their natural state. And we're still, I think there's a bit of a question still going on of the final color of that nameplate. It might turn to be a little more bronze color rather than that gold color. But that's the design. We'll have that Nevada in the center and the stars, and then the serif font for the name of the house to more match the writing on the medallion. So we wanted them to kind of go together, but if we're trying to match that nameplate exactly to the medallion, we can't do that because metal, that metal has all aged to be different colors. So the final rock will end up being between 135 and 140 pounds. So that may change the way they want to mount it, if that's something they want to inset in the ground or just set on top. So there's some of those questions that are still left lingering as we design the final product.
My idea, this looks like it must have been another part of the quarry, because it's got a lot of gold in it, a lot more yellow than the city curbing around the Wrinkle Mansion, the foundation, things like that.
And it also was shot with, we hit it with some clear coat to help protect it, and that was just a
Probably
day
brought
ago.
out
It's a
some of
little
the stuff.
shiny, yeah.
And I know in my house and my office, the face of the stone in the foundation is square. That's the only place it's square. When you get inside behind them, they're all different rough edges and things like that.
So we've got those blocks. So that's what I was talking about. The back side of them is rough, and then the front side is flat. So you can choose which side you want to put the,
Because most people, assume that they were all just carved square
Right.
blocks that you threw into some place. And I noticed in a couple places where there were porches, the face of the foundation was never chiseled square. So it bulges out. But I kind of like the idea of having the face flat like you'd recognize with the Capitol building and some of the other foundations, and then the back side of it and everything, whatever.
still rough.
Whatever.
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
And as far as the medallions, I mean, they're going to patina anyway, so that's going to be different. And I like the way this one looks. I like, having it not match identically, but I really like that concept.
Yeah, and we can powder coat any color, so if there's any sort of consensus on, I think we're looking at a bronze, so, but any color that everyone decides on we can do.
And here's one more thought of having brick masons assemble things for me over at my house. I saw a kid that was 17 years old, weighed 140 pounds, and he can lift that rock up. So, and I think it's about 125 pounds per cubic foot. So some way to anchor them in the ground or just use bigger chunks of material that it would take more than one individual to be able to move, I think would be something to think about down the road.
Yeah, and that's, I think Public Works is installing them, so if at some point we could connect with Public Works to see how they wanted it mounted, then we could tailor it to those specifications.
And here's a thought too, what they did on when I did my garbage enclosure, they did a footing of concrete and they set the stone in that footing when it was still wet. So it really makes it adhere and you wouldn't have to have poles or anything. You know, if they did a form box, poured half a yard of concrete, well, not half a yard, a bag of concrete in there and sat those in there, that would probably take care of the issue as well.
Well, yeah, there's several options, because you could set it front-facing like that. The way our carver is carving them, he'll carve them so they cant up a little bit, but you could also bury them in the ground to where the top is just facing up. So we'll do it however, however, I don't know if this committee has the final say, or whoever decides how they want to be installed, we will build them to those specifications.
For the record, Dave Peterson. So I have been working with Rick Cooley on the Public Works front. Once we came up with a design and we could spec one, the plan was for me to go out with Rick and determine exactly how they would be set, in the ground, on the ground. He didn't want to make a decision without having an actual piece, so we could kind of see how this was going to work. But they're committed to however you would prefer it to be. That's the way that they'll do it. But he just wanted to have a piece first, get out there, look at some different locations, and just see how this is going to kind of pan out, I guess, depending on the plantation strips and how they're all set up on the different streets. So,
And here's a photo of it in front of the Curry House, just for perspective.
I think it's a great idea. They're very attractive. It's a great
Yeah, they turned
project.
out, they're beautiful.
Yeah, I think I agree with Jed, the more dressed front face. is
So
probably
that
the-
solid,
Yeah,
flat
and-
face.
And it matches the carriage steps a little bit better, because some of those are really nicely dressed, others are rough with dressed faces. And you might mention directive, one of the ways you could do that is you could do a 6-inch post hole with a concrete anchor in it and epoxy the stone onto that anchor, and it wouldn't show. It'd make it a whole lot harder to get out of the ground.
well, I can verify that lifting these stones are pretty hard. I said, I'll go out there and I'll take a week and I'll get all 40 of them. I brought one in, and that was the end of me, so they are pretty heavy.
Yeah, although there was somebody that was taking ATM machines a while back.
Oh,
so,
that's true.
you know, if you want it, it'll go. Any other questions of Terry?
I'd just like to comment, I appreciate your giving this so much thought and pursuing the best solution. I kind of generally agree this notion of something flatter that kind of reminds us of the big stones in the historic buildings, but then not make it a cookie cutter thing, let it have its own characteristics on the other side.
Yeah, that's definitely, they're not all the same, but they will be consistent. And you're right, well, this is probably our 6th or 7th iteration, so there's been a lot that's gone into it, and they have learned, when we first proposed this, we thought, well, this is something we can't do, and then it turned out, oh, we can do that. So it's been a good learning process on our end, too.
with the chair's permission, Dave Peterson for the record. Our plan was to have the markers face the sidewalk, so as pedestrians are walking down the sidewalk, taking our route that we've kind of laid out, does that meet with the commission's approval as well?
Yeah, that sounds great. If someone's doing a driving tour online, do they get pinged or something as they pass?
So I just want to make sure that I understand your question. So if they're doing the driving tour, will they have like a notification that's sent to them? We don't have that capability yet, but it's something I can look into.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if the sign faces the sidewalk, it'd be nice to have some way for someone taking a driving tour.
That has been
where they
the
are.
conundrum of figuring out which way to face it. So obviously this is facing the street, which looks great from a driving perspective, but the pedestrian would have to walk out in front of it and see it. So I would say we probably get more walkers than drivers, from what I've just personally heard in the visitor center. So, we'll look into something to see, we might be some kind of beacon technology that we might be able to push, but I would say that might be a while down the road, post-COVID recoveries. But it's something we'll look into. But great suggestion, thank you.
Thanks.
The way it's in front of Andy's house there, where you're driving or walking, and of course, where I live, people walk more in the street than they do on the sidewalk. They walk their dogs and everything, but if you had it, maybe on a corner or on the parkway facing where you can read it looking at the house, instead of looking at the house and turning around to see what the stone is over there. I think that might make more sense, and they're gonna be bigger, so they're easier to see, but to be able to have somebody, people take lots of pictures in front of the Bliss Mansion with the state marker there. And it's my grandson's favorite place to take a picture. But, something like that where you can see it just like in this illustration on the paper. I think that'd be great. And another comment, I don't know if you really need to clear the sandstone itself, because none of the other stuff is done, and I don't know if that creates a maintenance thing or if it's an extra step that we could just avoid to save on cost.
The clear coat on the sandstone. Yeah. Go ahead, Michelle.
Thank you. I would like to see it not look identical to the stepping stones, the carriage stones, and the height to be less than the height of those stones. And also in terms of where they're placed, I don't think that they should be near those stones if they exist at that property. I like the undressed, the rough look that is presented here today in the room. And I feel like the brochure and the website should really provide some context to the sandstone structures that we have in the historic district, and so that there's an understanding of also the carriage steps, the whole context for this project. I think it should be explained a little bit, because a lot of thought went into this, choosing the stone and the design. So I don't know if there's some more information that can get added.
This is Lydia, for the record. Absolutely, and that's definitely in the works and something I should have mentioned earlier. But yes, we have a couple of photos, and we've taken photos of all the carriage stones that are in the historic west side. So we'll have a little section for that in more of the history side of our website, but we'll definitely explain the historical significance behind that, and we'll be adding photos of the houses and of the stones that are in front of the houses in the brochure as well in our next variation. So, but that's great input and will absolutely be added.
So if we just look at the brochure, and the first building was constructed of sandstone from the prison quarry. So it should be in here somewhere. There should be some, I know we say Victorian style. I'm challenged by that word, but I'm not going to get into that. But I think we need some more context to the buildings that are in the historic district. And I'm sure you've already printed these brochures, but if we can do it on the website, that would be great. And then pointing out the ones that are constructed from the sandstone from the prison quarry.
Okay, thank you. We'll definitely get that added, and we should be able to add it to the brochure. We only have a small print quantity of these done. So I think we'll be able to incorporate that pretty soon.
Hope Sullivan, Planning Manager.
Thank you.
Michelle, you commented on, and I think what you were saying was you didn't want this to too closely replicate the carriage stone, I'm guessing to avoid confusion. Can you articulate what your expectation would be a little better? Because I think our goal here is to understand what this will look like. And you probably said it, and I just couldn't hear it at the very beginning when you started talking.
I just feel like a lot of the stepping stones right now are rough because they've weathered. So I'd like that this stone to be similar to the mock-up that was presented, that Bill brought in, that it's pretty rough. And I think so we can differentiate between what's historic and what's new. Also, height-wise, I think it should be subservient to the carriage stone and not try to be that same height.
Yeah, I think at 1 by 1 by 2, Michelle, or height, the demonstration stone is about a foot tall right now, so it's way lower than the carriage stones are. And I think keeping it rough, or keeping the other surfaces rough are gonna really distinguish it.
Yeah,
Okay,
just,
thank you.
so keep the stone the same, the 2 by 1 by 1, 1 by 2 by 1, however that goes.
Yeah, 1 by 1 by 2, I think, is a suitable dimension.
Yeah, so it's 2 feet long and then a foot high and about a
Yeah,
foot
foot
deep.
wide, yeah.
Okay,
And I think that'll when you look at the stepping stones, you look at the Posey Bender house, and it's a 2-step stone, and it's pretty high. You look in front of the Krebs Peterson house, and it's a concrete step, and it's about 6 inches high. You look at the one that Jim Warren did at 603 West Robinson, and that's the smallest mining stone he could find up in Virginia City, and that's a different height. The Frank Norcross house, it's a concrete stone, or a concrete step that was put in with an N in it. So I don't think these will, I mean, the carriage steps are so varied. I don't think that this is going to encroach and have somebody mistake one of these for a step.
Yeah, in terms of placement, I think it's gonna have to be case by case. I mean, there's fences in front of some of these houses, so you can't, if you were to put it near the sidewalk, you don't have enough room at the fence. There's the planter strips, that would certainly work. There's places like the Curry House where you could put it, on the edge of the property, and that actually gives you a little more security. But I think it's gonna have to be case by case. We can't just say we're gonna put them all here, so.
Maybe hope. Where it is in front of the Curry House, that's city right-of-way, are these all going to be in most of the parkways, the center of the street to the inside edge, if you will, the farthest edge on the sidewalk is usually right-of-way. So I would take it that these would need to be put in because of redevelopment funds and stuff in city right-of-way?
Well, I'm not going to say they have to be there, but I think that's the intent, is that they're placed on the landscaped area between the sidewalk and the road. Hopefully, for each of those sites, there is that landscaped area. And I think that's why David's working with Public Works regarding the details of the installation, because it is Public Works jurisdiction to take care of the right-of-way. To summarize, what I had put for the conditions was that the final sandstone marker placement installation would be subject to review and approval by the chair. I'm thinking, just for the benefit of the record, we should maybe add into the motion, if this is where the commission wants to take it, that the stone should be 1 by 1 by 2, with 2 being the long width and the long side, 1 foot wide, 1 foot deep, 2 feet long, with 1 smooth side and the balance of the stone being rough. And then we would keep that the final sandstone marker placement and installation would be subject to review and approval by the chair. If that's, I just wanted to state that so that we make that really clear for the record.
can I clarify? I think the 3 sides are pretty smooth and then the back side is rough. Is how those old bricks were made.
Yeah, if let's try to replicate some of the old foundation blocks. So if it's one rough side, two smooth,
Three
or-
smooth sides?
yeah.
Yeah, mostly smooth. You know how they were.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
So 3 smooth sides with the balance rough.
I'll take some pictures of the foundation that came out of 808 Curry. And the foundation, we can take it to the wrinkle, but it was square in the front, and who knows what it was in the back, if it went in or if it was square. It's almost like they placed them there and then got the next one and just made a straight edge. So what you're saying is if the face is front, the other sides are, and it depends on the building.
And Jed, if you want to go, we did a brick of those, an original one that then they redesigned the nameplate, and it looks better with the stars and the little Nevada. But the original one is still over there, and that will show the size of the brick. If you or anybody want to stop by and look at that brick,
Is that it?
we left it over at the Visitors,
Visitor Bureau, okay.
yeah. So that's there. So the face of it will look different. It will look more like this rock, but the rest of the stone is what the rest of the stones will look like. Does that make sense? We were going to bring them both, but we didn't want it to be confusing. But if you want to go there to look at what the stone will look like, but then the face will look like that.
There any other questions? Anything else you want to discuss, Dave? No, I'm good. Is there any public comment on this item?
I see no public comment, Mr. Chair.
Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Okay. I move to approve HRC 2020-0019 based on the findings that the request is consistent with the design guidelines for the Historic District and the Secretary of Interior standards and subject to the conditions of approval in the staff report. Also to contain what Hope was talking about as far as 2 feet wide, a foot high, a foot deep, somewhat of a smooth finish on the front, and however the other three sides end up. Is that
Yeah, just for the clarity, for the benefit of the clerk, I think the additional condition will say that the size of the stone will be approximately 1 foot wide, 1 foot deep, 2 feet long, with 3 sides being relatively smooth and the balance can be rough.
Thank you, Hope. Is there any question on the motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much, Dave and crew. Next item is F, staff reports. Hope.
Yes, there were 4 administrative approvals since your last meeting. 3 of them were re-roofs and 1 was a fence. Also, we did have, we gave the $50 gift card for the Fox Brew Pub to the winner of the scavenger hunt. I did not bring her name with me today, so I apologize for that. But I think she was really excited to get it. And again, we really want to thank Jim Phelan for donating that gift card again this year. We had, I believe, 31 people who submitted their complete sheets after the scavenger hunt, which is double what we've had these last few years. It's been roughly about 15, even though we always know more people than that are doing the scavenger hunt. And once the answers were posted and the winner was announced, that got another flurry of advertising and publicity, and so even more people want to do it. So maybe we need the Culture and Tourism Bureau to have our scavenger hunt. Oh, good, good.
Do you remember
So, yeah.
offhand how many people got all the locations? Was it just one or?
No, it was quite a few. It was definitely more than one. I had someone else score them, but it was definitely more than one. I mean, people take this very seriously.
Do we need to make it more difficult?
No. We had a bad year a year ago. I don't want that again.
Okay. Any commission member reports or comments? Future,
thing. I'm sorry. The Forum program in Tacoma was canceled. They are making a virtual program. So if anyone's interested in participating in the virtual program, the SHPO still has grant money available. I have not pursued that just because we've been so busy and things have been a little crazy. But just let me know, and I'm happy to reach out to SHPO to see if I can make arrangements for you to get that training.
Yeah, if we could just post the link to the virtual program, that'd be great. And then, anyone who wants to take advantage of it can. Future agenda items?
The Bank Saloon, I believe, is coming back with a patio in the rear. So that might be able to be handled administratively because it really just is flat work and fencing. But it's exciting. That project is coming along, and that's very exciting to see that. Otherwise, I'll just mention also the local internet TV show has been doing some segments on historic preservation. They did a feature with Michelle Schmitter on her exhibit over on at the Curry House, or I'm not the Curry House, at 408 East Curry. And Jed, did you get interviewed?
Yes.
Okay, and Jed had an interview as well. So that's kind of exciting that they're seeing historic preservation as something of community interest.
Great. And I want to thank CTA too for all their work with historic preservation. You're doing a great job working with the Historical Society and us. So, good job, guys. Any public comment?
There is no final public comment, Mr. Chair.
I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned at 6.
Have a good night, everyone.